Now we continue with this chapter 6, the path and the saint. We have talked about the preparatory stages, that is the general preparatory path, or the stages conducive to liberation. And we have just learned how to qualify ourselves as practitioners. Then let us learn the meditation on calm abiding, or the samatha. It has quite a few different practices, but the most important probably, and also two of them that Vasubandhu emphasized the most, perhaps, are these two, which are called the two doors of entry. That are the meditation on the losam and also the mindfulness of breathing. We need these two doors of entry to train our mind to calm down. And we need our mind to calm down first, because if we have a lot of desire or distractions, we cannot arise samapatis or abide in it. So we need these two doors of entry to first train our mind to calm down. And the first one, meditation on the losam. The losam means the unclean or the disgusting. Well, it is a practice for beings with a lot of desire to counteract lust in kamadhatu. And by saying lust, it refers mainly or specifically the sexual desire in the realm of in the kamadhatu. And then the second practice is the mindfulness of breathing. It is a practice mainly for beings with a lot of distractions, restlessness. So to counteract the discursiveness of our minds, when we think too much, when our minds are like monkeys, they're going everywhere. So that's different purposes of these two doors of entry. And let's start on the meditation on the losam. We have two kinds of antidotes that is included in this meditation. We have specific antidotes that we can counteract four objects or four different kinds of attachment through 9 thoughts. That is to say, first we can meditate on the cadava. Well, a cadava is a dead body. We can meditate on a cadava, turning blue or turning rotting and so on. That is, then we can counteract our attachment to colors. That is to say, if we have a desire to red lips and to white skin and so on, then we can meditate on a dead body turning into such disgusting colors. Then we can also meditate on a dead body devoured and torn apart, for instance, by wild animals, in order to counteract our attachment to shapes, if we have such an attachment. For instance, to slim female bodies or to muscular male bodies and so on. Yeah, and so this kind of meditation will help counteract with it. We can also meditate on the cadaver eaten by worms with bones held together, and that helps counteract attachments to tangibles. That means those kind of soft and smooth touches that we really like, we are really deeply attached to, then we can meditate in this way. We can also meditate on a motionless or scattered cadaver, so we can counteract attachment to being honored. That means if we really like and being addicted, and if we are addicted to being honored by some other people who dance or sing for us or through other amusement, then we can meditate on the motionless or scattered cadaver. So these are 9 thoughts on 4 objects to counteract, as an antidote to 4 kinds of attachments separately. We also have a universal antidote. That is, we meditate and visualize skeletons. So with the skeletons as the object of meditation, it can counteract the fourfold attachment. It means it can serve as an antidote to all four kinds of attachments, those to colors, to shapes, to tangibles, and to being honored. Why? Why can this universal antidote have such a function? Because there's no such adorable color or shape or tangibles that one can attach oneself with when it comes to a skeleton. And also there's no desire. One would have no desire to be served or honored by a skeleton. Can you imagine a skeleton singing and dancing for you? That just sounds scary. So through meditation on skeletons, one can counteract all the four attachments we just mentioned. When it comes to characteristics of this practice, first, the cognitive object is the visible form in Kamadhatu, the colors and the shapes. And the nature is non-greed, of course. It is to get rid of the greed or attachment. So therefore the nature is good. The stages this practice relies on can be the four dhyanas. It can also be the four preliminary concentrations, and also the intermediate meditation, while a mind of Kamadhatu would also work. So together 10 stages. A mind at any of these 10 stages can meditate on the losam. So who can practice? Well, humans. Humans except those residents in the northern continent, the Uttarakuru. Anytime we talk about cultivating good dhammas, we talk about a preparatory or any stages, conductive deliberation or penetration, it has nothing to do with people living in the Uttarakuru. Pity for them, but they're not ready, or they don't have the opportunity to. Pure or impure? Well, this practice, this meditation on the losam is merely impure. The reason is that this meditation is based on imaginative objects, and it is impure, and it is not therefore not able to attain noble fruits. However, it is very essential to start the path. Therefore, it is established as a door of entry. And the way of obtaining, either through detachment or by preparatory effort. If one has practiced this meditation before and has obtained it earlier, well, then it can be obtained again through detachment. If one has never practiced this before, never obtained it earlier, then it has to be obtained via preparatory effort. So that's about the meditation on the losam. Now let's continue with the other door of entry, which is the mindfulness of breathing. And we can take a look on the characteristics of the mind, and then later the characteristics of the breath. So we look at these two aspects separately. First, about the mind, we say that the nature is discernment. It arises from the mindfulness. Therefore, we name this practice after the cause, which is the mindfulness, while the nature itself is discernment. And which stages can we rely on? We can rely on the first three preliminary concentrations, or the intermediate meditation, or a mind of Kamadhatu, because these 5 stages have neutral sensations, and counteracting discursiveness, counteracting this kind of restlessness, only associates with neutral sensation. Other sensations like satisfaction or dissatisfaction, they would disturb one's concentration, while the concentration is really required for this practice. You may wonder then, as we know that the 4th dhyana also associates only with neutral sensation. So why not the 4th dhyana? Well, because if one cultivate or obtain the fourth dhyana, the breath, the breath is absent. There's no in breath, there's no out breath. Therefore, you cannot practice the mindfulness of breathing. When it comes to the cognitive object, well, that's the wind, because in and out breathing, that is entry and leaving of wind. So who can practice this mindfulness of breathing? We say that humans and gods in the realm of desire can practice this, again, except Uttarakudu. So as compared to the previous practice, the first door of entry, meditation on the losam, here gods in Kamadhatu can also practice it, as long as they have breathing, as long as they can breathe. And way of obtaining, well, that is the same. That is the same as meditation on the losam, through detachment or preparatory effort, depending on if one has obtained it earlier. And school, we say that this mindfulness of breathing is exclusively applicable to Buddhists, not outsiders. The reason for that is there's no such teachings in outsiders, and especially those outsiders, they're always afraid of an annihilation of this self. So they don't want to practice this kind of mindfulness of breathing because they're afraid. And also this practice can lead us all the way up to penetration. It can lead us all the way to enlightenment. And this enlightenment we are talking about in Buddhism is what some outsiders really afraid of. Because in this liberation, in the nirvana, there's no such a thing called self. So they're afraid that their self is destroyed, is abandoned, is gone forever. So they will not practice this. And then when it comes to way of practice, which is guidance on how to practice this mindfulness of breathing, it has 6 parts, from counting and following, stealing, observing, modifying, and finally the complete purity. Maybe we do not spend too much time on this, but they are really guidance to the practice. For instance, the counting. That when we sit down, when we start to count our breath, the in and out breathing, and we usually count 5 groups. So the in breathing and out breathing as one group, and we count up to 5 groups, not more, not less. Because if you count more, that will increase one's that will increase one's torpor. And if you count less, it might increase one's restlessness. So 5 groups, no more, no less, just right. And then on the following, it means one has stopped counting but start to visualizing. And stealing means one try to hold the mind at one place. For instance, hold the mind on one's nose. And observing is the object and cognition, while modifying is starting to update and starting to all the way up to the supreme mundane factor. That is the process of modifying, and then finally the complete purity. Well, that is actually the penetration into the passive vision, and can be all the way up to perfection. So you can see that this mindfulness of breathing, although it is established as a door of entry, it is established as a preparatory stage. It can also be very deep, very profound practice, very profound Dharma. It can lead a sentient being all the way to penetration. So it is really remarkable. According to when it comes to the characteristics of the breath, we need to know this. First, where is the breath located? Well, we say that, and we all know that the breath follows our bodies. So that's the location of the breath. And then the conditions for breathing. So in which conditions will one sentient being have breathing? Well, first, it must be at stages where breathing exists. So it must be either in the realm of desire, or the first, or the second, or the third dhyana. Not the fourth dhyana, and not above, not the formless realm. That's the stages where breathing exists. And then we must have clear wind channels. By saying wind channels, well, that's just another way to say our nose and our mouth. These must be open and clear. And also the body with cavities must also be open and not hindered. And that also including those tiny pores in our skins, which makes the air exchange, which makes the air and the liquid exchange possible. The tiny pores in our skins must be ready, must be open as well. And also with thoughts, we will lose our breath if our mind is absent. So this means that with the two samapatis, the non-conception samapati and the cessation samapati, if one enters these two samapatis where the mind is absent, then the breath is gone. About the third property of the breath, or the third characteristic, is that it is indicative of sentient beings. Well, this is quite understandable, right? Only sentient beings can possess the breath, apparently. And the fourth characteristic is that it is an effect of uniform outflow. So we say the breath is uniform, an effect of uniform outflow, and only an effect of uniform outflow. First, as we observe in our daily life, for instance, some overweighted people, with a growing body, their breath might be even shortened instead of prolonged. From here we can say that therefore the breath is not an effect of accumulation. You eat more, you have better food. It doesn't really enhance or prolong our breath. Also, since our breath can be stopped or continued at our own will, we can stop our own breath and we can start again anytime we want. We can control it somehow. So it is not an effect of retribution. An effect of retribution, it is there. You cannot just control it. You cannot let it disappear immediately. So that's about the effect of uniform outflow. And finally, it is not observed by lower mind. For instance, breath in the desire realm can be observed by 4 stages, respectively. It can be observed by the first, the second, by 4 stages. So it can be observed by a mind of Kamadhatu. It can also be observed by the first, the second, and the third dhyana stages. While the breath in the first dhyana can be observed by the first, the second, and the third dhyana, 3 stages. The breath in the second dhyana can be observed by 2 stages, and that is the second dhyana itself plus the third dhyana. And the breath in the third dhyana can only be observed by 1 stage, which is the third dhyana. It cannot be observed by minds below their stages. That is impossible. Yes, this is about mindfulness of breathing. According to Samgabhadra, actually, there are some more details that maybe we can also share. Here it says, at stages, breathing does not exist. Of course, that's the 4th dhyana and the 4 formless samapatis. That we already know. But we do have some more details about this breath. For instance, if we are at stages, breathing exists. For instance, in Kamadhatu, where we arise a mind that belongs to a stage, breathing does not exist. So if a person here in Kamadhatu, he cultivates a first or second dhyana, or if he cultivates the 4th dhyana meditation, which the breath does not exist in 4th dhyana, right? So in that case, his breathing will stop. And or in a second case or a second circumstance would be that at stages, if one if one lives in a stage where breathing does not exist, and then you arise a mind belonging to a stage that breathing does exist. In that case, breathing will still be absent. For example, a sentient being is in the fourth dhyana, and he arises a mind that actually belongs to the lower stage, belongs to the third dhyana. In that case, the breathing will not recover. The breathing is still absent. And another case is that one only live in a place. So we say that only with a living in a place where there is breathing, plus with a mind that belongs to a stage where breathing exists. With these two conditions together, then the breathing is present. For instance, right now in this realm of desire, and our mind is a mind of kamadhatu, then of course we have breathing. So the above is about the mindfulness of breathing. Next, let's take a look at the preparatory stages that are conducive to liberation, and then now we talk a little bit more about this meditation on insight, vipassana. After we have practiced the meditation on the karma abiding. So when the mind now comes down, we can start practicing this. For instance, the 4 applications of mindfulness. We have particular and common and collectively, and I shall explain to you. The 4 applications of mindfulness. The particular ones are these 4. Seeing the body as atomic, momentary, and loathsome. Seeing the sensation as unsatisfactory. Seeing the mind as impermanent, and seeing the other factors as empty and non-self. And a common practice of these 4 applications of mindfulness would be that all conditioned factors are impermanent, just like the body. All impure factors are unsatisfactory, just like the sensation. And all factors are empty and non-self. There's no exception. All factors are empty and non-self. And if we practice this collectively, would be that we put together the body, sensation, and everything, and we can see that the factors are 4-fold. They are impermanent, they are unsatisfactory, they are empty and non-self. So that's a practice collectively. So why these 4? We can ask why these 4? Because they are as opponents to the 4 mistaken views. If you still remember that we have talked about the 4 mistaken views in chapter 5. That is belief in purity and in happiness, in permanence, and in self. So with these 4 applications of mindfulness, we can counteract the 4 mistaken views. We see the body as atomic, momentary, and loathsome. So that is an antidote to purity. And we see the sensation as unsatisfactory. That is an antidote to happiness. And we see the mind as impermanent. Well, that is an antidote to permanence. And we see the other factors as empty and non-self. That is antidote to the mistaken view of a self. And the next question is why in this order? Why we say the body first and then followed by sensation, followed by mind, and the other factors comes the next as the last. Well, we have different explanations. For instance, from the coarsest object, which is the body, obviously, to the finest, which is the other factors, because the other factors include a lot. Also include because the other factors mostly they are the Dhammadhatu, and Dhammadhatu also includes nirvana, the cessation due to discernment, and that is the finest Dhamma. Therefore, we put the other factors at the last. The body is the first. Sensation is coarser than body, and mind is even finer than sensation. So that's the order. That's how we establish the order. We can also establish this order from tracing the attachment to pleasurement, because, for instance, it starts from attachment to body. attachment to body. This is the first step, and then we can ask why this attachment arise. Because it is there is the attachment to pleasant sensations, so we put sensations after body. And then why this? Why do we have attachment to pleasant sensations? Because the mind is defiled. Okay, now comes the mind. So we put the mind after the sensations. And then we keep asking, why is the mind defiled? When we say, okay, because the defilements are not abandoned. They're not abandoned by discernment. They're not abandoned by wisdom. So we put this as the last, because for instance, this cessation due to discernment, that is included in other factors in the Dhammadhatu. So we also have this order of body, sensation, mind, and other factors. So now this is about the 4 applications of mindfulness. Now let's talk about the 4 roots of good, as we have progressed from the general preparatory path to the special preparatory path. Or we can say that from the stages conducive to liberation to the stages conducive to penetration. By penetration, we mean that we mean the path of vision. We mean the direct realization of the noble truth. So about these 4 roots of good, they are heat, summit, receptivity, and supreme mundane factors. Heat is the first indication of the noble path that burns the defilements, just like heat as foresign of a fire that burns the fuel. Actually, Master Zhiming, he mentioned that during this stage, mentally one will have enormous joy towards the 3 treasures and towards the 4 noble truths. And physically, one would have experienced heat that generates from under the belly button and will expand over over the whole body. The summit is the peak of shakable good roots, so it will either retrogress or move forward into receptivity. It's just like the summit of a mountain. You will not remain there. You will either go backwards, or you will move forward, maybe move to higher mountains. You will not just stay over there. That's the summit. And the receptivity is the noble truth extremely imprinted during this stage. And the strong receptivity has also the unsatisfactoriness as Kamadhatu as its cognitive object, and it is only one moment. But that is the strong receptivity, as we also have the weak and the medium ones. And about the supreme mundane factors, that is similar to the strong receptivity, which is the best and supreme among all mundane factors. So it is the best, the highest among all impure factors. As explained by Mahavibhasha, why this one is called supreme? Well, because it is the uppermost, it can trigger the first pure moment, it will lead to the first fruit of noble beings, and it is towards the pure nature. So others say that it is the last mind of an ordinary being. And there will be no more impure mind after this moment of supreme mundane factors. So the first 2, heat and summit, they are shakable good roots, while the other 2, receptivity and supreme mundane factors, they are unshakable good roots. More characteristics about these 4. They are derived from cultivation, meaning they rely on meditation. The stages one needs to cultivate these 4 are 6 meditations. The 4 dhyanas plus the preparatory concentration plus the intermediate meditation, not including the formless samapatis, because the formless samapatis do not apprehend objects in Kamadhatu. About the Pudgala who can practice, who can cultivate these 4 roots of good, well, humans and gods in Kamadhatu, except those in Uttarakuta. This also means that both humans and gods in Kamadhatu can penetrate into the path of vision. It also confirms a fact that a sentient being can only penetrate in the realm of desire. About the benefits from these 4 roots of good, the heat will lead a sentient being to nirvana eventually. No matter how long it takes, it will go to nirvana eventually. And summit will not retrogress from good roots. That's really, really good news. And then receptivity destroys the future birth in the unfortunate planes. We can say that at this stage, it will have a cessation of the unfortunate planes, not due to discernment. And then we have super mundane factors instantly enter the passive vision, because it is only one moment from the passive vision, one moment from the penetration. Okay? And then about changing the family. Here we talk about when will a Shravaka practitioner, when will a listener of the Shravaka yana still have the opportunity to withdraw from the Shravaka family and change to a Bodhisattva, and change to the way of Bodhisattva, and in the end has the chance to become a Buddha. Where we say such a listener can withdraw from the stage of heat or summit of this family of Shravaka, and in order to cultivate merit and wisdom as a Bodhisattva, and then eventually become a Buddha. Not after summit. For instance, if it has already obtained receptivity, then it is technically impossible to be reborn into those miserable planes. But bodhisattvas, as we know, that they will and they're willing to be reborn into those miserable planes in order to save, to help those miserable beings, to cultivate the great compassion and to accumulate enormous merit. So once a Shravaka practitioner has entered this receptivity, it is not possible to withdraw from this Shravaka family to become a bodhisattva. However, one can withdraw from the first three, from heat or summit or receptivity, from the Shravaka yana to become a self-enlightened one, to become a Pratyeka Buddha. That's fine, because Pratyeka Buddha also focuses more on self-enlightenment. So it's okay. It is not to the same extent as the Bodhisattva, with a body mind trying to save all sentient beings with such a great compassion. And then, at the stages conducive to penetration, the family of Buddha and Pratyeka Buddha cannot withdraw, because Buddha and Pratyeka Buddha, they will complete their perfection in one sitting. And it starts from the first of these roots of good. It will start from heat, and it will cover the entire noble path, including the path of vision, the path of cultivation, and then finally the Vajrarupa Samadhi, before this sentient being becomes fully enlightened and become a Buddha or Pratyeka Buddha. So that's a very special case. They will not withdraw once having entered the heat. Once having entered heat. So with all these preparatory stages completed, and finally the moment of truth, the path of vision will come. So that is the direct realization of the truth. So as we mentioned that we have 60 moments during 60 moments of direct realization during the path of vision. We mentioned this many times earlier. So here you have got the details. So the Four Noble Truths, and we have 3 realms, Kamandhatu, and the 2 upper realms, and we have these 60 moments from the first. That is the receptivity to the cognition of the factors with regard to suffering. This is the first pure moment of a noble being. And this is also the first moment right after the supreme mundane factors. And from the 1st to the 15th, which is the subsequent receptivity to the cognition with regard to the past, these 15 moments are included in the path of vision. And the 16th, the last one, subsequent cognition with regard to the past, belongs already to the path of cultivation. And we see from these 16 moments, 8 of them are receptivities. They are actually the unhindered path. Recall the definition of unhindered path. They are the stage when the noble being is fighting with the defilements. And the defilements is not abandoned yet. It's still fighting with defilements, and the defilements will be abandoned during the path of liberation, which are the 8 cognitions. And during the 8 cognitions, the noble beings have already got the cessation due to discernment, have already the possession of such cessations. So that's the general difference between the 8 receptivities and the 8 cognitions. So one of the major difference that sets Buddha aside from those outsiders is that Buddha has the wisdom to teach us, to guide us all the way from the preparatory stages towards this direct realization of the truth, to transform us from a complete ordinary being to a noble being. So that is the greatness of Buddha, and that is the power of this noble path. Okay, so that is for this lecture, and we have explained some important concepts and the progress along the way for one to become a noble being. And we have some exercises here. Hopefully it helps as well. In next lecture we will talk more about the paths of cultivation, which follows immediately after the path of vision, and we will also talk all the way up to the perfected beings.